Off the top, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador, remains behind bars in a Salvadoran mega prison while his family and Maryland lawmakers fight for his return back to Maryland. The case has already gone up to the Supreme Court once, but it may be on its way back after several major updates this week.
President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back. There was no situation ever where he was going to stay in this country. None. He would have come back, had one extra step of paperwork, and gone back again.
The Department of Justice asked a federal appeals court that oversees cases out of Maryland to intervene immediately after District Judge Policini's ordered DOJ to quickly provide relevant documents and answers to questions from Abrego Garcia's team in person, under oath, and in sworn written statements. Here is how we got here. Zines originally ordered the government to facilitate and effectuate Abrego Garcia's return. The Supreme Court said, and let's go ahead and pull up the language because this is important. The Supreme Court said, other than the district court's original deadline for Abrego Garcia's return, which had already passed, the judge's order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. There are two parts to that. Facilitate release from custody. That doesn't necessarily say return to the homeland, but it could mean that. And part two, ensure he gets due process that he wasn't given before he was mistakenly deported. Then the court asked her to clarify what she meant by the word effectuate, warning her that she should clarify its directive with due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. So Zines simply removed the word effectuate from her order. But finally, the Supreme Court said to the government, for its part, the government should be prepared to share what it can concerning steps it has taken and the prospect of further steps. As of today, the government says Abrego Garcia is being held inside the detention facility in El Salvador. Late Thursday night, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen confirmed he met with Garcia in El Salvador, sharing pictures of their meeting. But the Trump administration has not shared what steps they have taken or the prospect of further steps. DOJ says they are complying with the judge's order to facilitate Garcia's return because their definition of return, they say, is based on commonly understood immigration law, and that facilitate just means remove any domestic barriers. So if he shows up at the border, there's nothing preventing him from coming in, although they would likely detain him and deport him to a different country, as you heard Pam Bondi just say. That's where the disagreement is. In a court hearing this week, Zines was clearly frustrated with DOJ, telling them she had no tolerance for grandstanding or gamesmanship. And DOJ is clearly frustrated with her, telling the federal appeals court her order is unconstitutional and imposes on the president's sole authority on matters of foreign affairs. DOJ asked the Fourth Circuit for a writ of mandamus. A writ of mandamus is an order from a court commanding an inferior government official to do something. As DOJ's own manual says, mandamus is an extraordinary remedy which should only be used in exceptional circumstances of peculiar emergency or public importance. Here, DOJ asked the Fourth Circuit to command Zines to toss out her order that would require DOJ to answer questions and produce documents. The Fourth Circuit, led by court conservative and Reagan appointee Judge Harvey Wilkinson, said no. It is difficult in some cases, he said, to get to the very heart of the matter, but in this case, it's not hard at all. The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. Further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there's nothing that can be done. This should be shocking, not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear.